Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video on my second flight case that I've built, a part 2 of version 2. This video is sponsored by PCBWay. Thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring the video and for supporting our channel. Earlier this year we went to the USA and I built a travel case which I documented in this video over here. And in that video I built a case that used a 19-inch screen, and that was quite a big case and it was incredibly heavy. I wanted to build something that was super strong, that would protect all the equipment that I wanted to carry, and it was super strong. And it was incredibly strong. It worked incredibly well, but it was very heavy and had a couple of limitations that I needed to sort out. Like one of the things was things were getting hot inside, so I wanted to replace that and just put a fan inside there and change the power supplies. Biggest thing I wanted to change was the weight and the size. It was too big. It fit within the allowed regulations of the airline, but was very big, very cumbersome, very heavy. So I worked on designing a part 2, and that's where we got here. So the first part of designing one of these cases is, what is your limiting factor? Now, the limiting factor in the previous case was the screen size. Being a 19-inch screen, it was big, and that was my limiting factor. I then went out and I bought one of these screens here, which is a USB-C powered, with a mini HDMI. It must be HDMI to support the ATEM Mini. And this here is my replacement. It's a 15-inch screen and it works super well, but it's no longer my limiting factor because of the size of the other items in the case. So the first thing in planning this out is I did a rough sort of layout of where everything was supposed to go. I wanted all of these items. I wanted my Behringer for the sound and audio. These go to my main speakers, so that's set up. I wanted my ATEM, which is all for my mixing of the video inputs. I wanted the HDMI receiver. This thing is incredible. HDMI receiver where I don't have to have cables running to my camera and I can have a roaming camera. And then also I wanted it to be able to be connected to the network, so everything connects into the internet, and I can connect up my Behringer, my ATEM, and everything to the internet, my laptop, all of that to the network, and so I needed a switch in there as well. So I did a basic layout of what I required and allowing space for cables and stuff like that. Right, so the first thing you do is you get your minimum size that you want to get, so the absolute minimum, bare minimum. I built this case based on this layout. This here goes underneath the Behringer, the ATEM, so it's not such a big deal about where that lay, but it needed to have space. My limiting factor on my height is my Behringer, so I wanted it just above this knob so this knob doesn't crash into the screen. So let's put this case together. I want to have a single switch that will turn everything on in one switch. So all my power supplies are going to go through one connector and all that. I'll explain the power supplies in part 2 of this video. The part 1 is just to put the whole case together. Part 2 is we're going to put everything inside. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please hit me up with a subscribe and a like. I really would appreciate it. It helps with the algorithm. Okay, so with my previous case, I would have 2 of these uprights in each corner, but they were just the 2020 version of the square, not the rounded. And it looked great. It was super strong, but it added a lot more weight. So I wanted to reduce the weight and build something a little bit better this time around. So what I decided on is using these L brackets for 2020 extrusion. I used 2020 throughout, and I wanted to use these L brackets. And this was surprisingly strong. It worked really well and really held everything together extremely well. I have used this case in a recent trip to Johannesburg, where we had to go up to Joburg and take the case with. I took it with there. Everything was perfect. It was great on the airplane, a lot lighter. It was about 9 kilograms lighter than the previous version. So it was a lot easier to carry, to load on the overhead, and everything went really well with the last thing. So let's get on with putting this case together. I'm going to build the base and then we'll build the lid. Okay, so I've left the hinges on here. I've been wanting to buy better hinges, but I haven't been able to get them. My supplier's out of stock. And it's not easy to find alternate suppliers in South Africa here, but I know in the US you can find these hinges anywhere. You get the better ones that are for 2020 extrusion. I just use some plain normal hinges and they worked. Okay, so let's get this thing together. I've painted the inside of this piece of plywood. So this is a piece of 6mm plywood, which works really nicely. It fits very well into the 2020 extrusions. The rest of the sides are made by 3mm plywood to reduce the weight, because again, a weight is a big problem. But I wanted my base to be nice and strong, where everything rested on and everything was held into place. So my base is 6mm ply, and I'm going to start putting this together. So I've used these L brackets to put this together, and that's different from my previous design. The previous design, I bolted through the bottom straight through the aluminium. It created something that was incredibly strong, but it was not needed to be that strong. So I'm just going to add my back here. So what's nice about this 6mm ply is that it does slot in very nicely, but one of the negatives is putting the PU on there, this leatherette, this fake leather, did make it bind up too much. So I decided to leave the bottom without the PU leatherette on it. I've got two long pieces here, which we're going to slot in. Now this is, again, the 3mm ply, and let's put our first side in. I've had to do a little bit of a cutout on the corners here so that those L brackets fit in perfectly and work out fine. So yeah, let's just tighten this up. Right. On my right-hand side here, I've got a side panel, and I've mounted a fan into it. As you can see here, there's a fan which just pulls air out. When I had that previous power supply, it got very hot underneath it because that previous power supply didn't have a fan and worked a lot. My new design doesn't need as much of a fan, but I've left the fan in here that if things do get hot inside, I can cool the innards down and I can pull air away from the ATEM. The Behringer doesn't get that hot, but the ATEM does get a bit warm. So this does help, and it works really nicely. So I'm going to slot that in on the side here. Slot this base piece in first. There we go. Let's put this side in. Fits nice and tight like that. We'll tighten up everything just now once we've got everything in. I'm going to put my side fan in, and that goes in there like that. And then on the other side was another development that after going through iterations, I found a really nice idea that I wanted to do in the previous version but never got around to it. Plugging items in was difficult and cumbersome. So what I've done is I made up this side panel using just a laser cut piece. This is a Tritech, which is a really nice piece to cut the outlines in. I can cut the lettering in there. I cut everything around here, and then I got these extension cables. These were a little bit long. I couldn't find anything shorter, so it does make my wire management a little bit messy, but yeah, we've got that in there. We've got our networks, and then we've also got our audio in and one audio out from the ATEM Mini. So let's curl that up there out of the way, slot this into the side, and then I'm going to put in my two top pieces here, like such. There we go. Oh, what I haven't done is this is the part of the hinge. So I'll need to try and get that in there, get the hinge the right way up. A little bit finicky and cumbersome, but we'll get there. There we go. All nicely together there as well. Right. Then let's get the front section on. So now the front, I've got my two, these are just two cheap latches that will latch the whole box and the whole case closed. So I'm going to take this piece, plonk it in the front here, like such. Let's do this rather. Let's put that there. such that let's tighten this all up so this part is complete. This case is very cheap to build. It's not overly expensive. I'm using simple materials like plywood and 2020 extrusions. And yeah, it's very it's simple and cheap to put together. So, you know, I don't have a huge budget for this kind of stuff. And I didn't want to make it so that it would cost too much money. I wanted to save some money. So yeah, I've made this on the cheap. And it worked out ridiculously cheap on how. Let's put that down. Let's clamp this. There we go. Now it's nicely together. a little bit of persuasion there, and away we go. So I'm going to tighten this up. And these grub screws tighten up really tight, and they grip very, very well. So on the trip to Johannesburg, I had zero issues with any grub screws coming loose or anything like that. And it was an amazing trip. And this case, sorry about all the noise, this case worked out really, really well for me. So I'm going to tighten this up. Nice and tight and strong. Very, very strong. This is an incredibly strong build. And there we go. Our case is together, and that's the base. So very simple. Might want to tighten that one up again. Let's just get things square. It makes it nice and square, and we've got a really beautiful looking case. There's the base of our case. Now I'm going to put the lid together, and then we'll work on the wheels and the trolley mechanism. Let's get that out the way. Right, now we're going to work on the lid. The lid is a nice double PU size, so both sides are PU, because I wanted where the monitor to mount to have a nice soft look and nice and clean. Okay, so let's put the lid together. The lid goes together pretty similar to the base, except for one difference. If you notice, where's my camera up top here? If you notice inside here, I've got a hole in both sides of my aluminium. I've tapped those, and I'll show you why shortly. I cannot put another L bracket on here because it's too long. So what I've done is I've tapped all the corners, and this makes for my second layer to work. So let's just get this in there. Right, let's get that in there. Let's get this on. Now this doesn't have sides like the main case. This uses the 2020s as your side. I'll show you now what I mean by that. One of the fun things about this case is it actually invokes quite a bit of conversation. A lot of people go, "Ooh, what's that?" when you're in the airport or whatever. And it's just, yeah, it's fun to talk about. And then you show them the inside of the case, and their eyes light up, and they go, "Oh my word, that is amazing. That is incredible." So yeah, it really is. It's a fun project. It's a nice, very convenient project. Previously, when I was going to an event, I would have to pack up everything into bags, and then it would take about 2 hours to unpack and connect up everything. Now I take my case out, plug it in, and be ready to go. Absolutely amazing setup this, and yeah, really pleased with the result of it. The next part, okay, this one's got a couple of the T-nuts in here so that I can attach the hinge. So that goes on the back there. Then where I tapped before, I take these long screws and we just screw that into those tap parts. This worked out really well, and it was a simple solution to a problem. I could have put T-nuts in, but I didn't have enough, so I just tapped the aluminium, and that worked like an absolute charm. And there we go. That's our back one, right? That's the right one. This is our front section here with the two clips for the front of the case. Right, let's grab our two screws. Now our side pieces. Unfortunately, you'll see there's a lot of holes in some of the pieces here because this is reclaimed, reused aluminium from the previous case, which is not the best idea in the world. And there we have our lid. There's our lid section, and that is done. So now we can marry the two up and get this completed. So I'll take this case up here. Plug this on top. I'm going to put the hinges on the back here. I will buy some decent hinges sometime. I don't really like these hinges, but they do work. They do the job. So yeah, well, it's what we need for now. As soon as my supplier has stock, I got everything from Modular ASM. It's a South African company. They do everything with regard to 2020 extrusions. Really great company, sort of like a one-stop shop for everything. Unfortunately, as I say, they didn't have the stock of everything I wanted, but at least I actually had the CEO of Modulism come in and visit me, which was kind of fun. He came here to my house to see this case because him and I had quite a few discussions about what we were doing with this case and how it was built, and send them photographs, and they really loved it so much that the CEO came over here to have a look at the case and to sort of promote it a little bit on their website and in their chat groups. So that was quite exciting to have him come around, a simple little YouTuber like myself, and a simple little project like this, and he came around to have a look, which was exciting and fun. Right, there's our hinge on. I just used the T-nuts to hold everything together. Sorry, I don't have a camera angle to show you this, but I'll show you now. And there we have it. The hinges are on. Hinges are in place. Our straps are in line here. There we go. And there we go. The case is now latched. It is finished. We've got the sides here where we've got the fan. We've got the other side where we've got all our connectors, making it really convenient and quick and easy. Now, the last step I wanted to do to make this more portable was to add some wheels. In the previous version, I had a trolley system, which was okay, but I had to take the trolley off every time because it added a lot of bulk to the whole case and made it not fit into the overhead, so I had to pack the trolley away and then carry the case. With this method here, I'm actually not even putting handles on this because my carry mechanism is the handle. Now, one of the things that I did here to get my handles and my wheels is I had one of those old aluminium tool cases. It was much bigger than this. This was sort of like the precursor to the idea of packing everything into a single case. I didn't see that was out of alignment. There we go, back in. To make it a single case, so I took what I had from there because I could not find where to buy this. Okay, this expandable handle. I couldn't find this in South Africa. I found it in America. There's a couple of places that have case building parts to them. So I borrowed the handle, the wheels, and the two standoffs from that previous case, from that work case. And yeah, it worked out really well. The fun thing was the guy who created these wheels, who designed these wheels, obviously has a sense of humor. I don't know if you can see the smiley face. I don't know what that is for. I honestly don't. I can only imagine that it's this guy's got a sense of humor. So I thought that was rather fun and that he added that in. So I've got these long bolts that I'm just going to go straight through my wooden base. So let me open this up. Let's open this up so that I've got angle to work in. Right, now I've got these long bolts that I drilled some holes through here. I drilled the holes. I put two spaces in because otherwise it doesn't clear the aluminium. Okay, so let me just grab the other one more of those. Right, so let's put the washer on there. Washer on there. And you can see I'm not using anything fancy to put stuff on. I'm just using what I have available to me. It's a lot harder to put together so you guys can see what I'm doing on the camera than doing it just on my own, but it is fun. I'll tighten those up later. Right, now I've messed that up. Let's tighten that all up. I put the wheels on. I did that off camera because I was struggling like crazy to do this. So I did this off camera. So yeah, but there the wheels are. I've just bolted them through the plywood and that works perfectly. Yeah, then I'm going to add this last bit. But before we get there, let's just have a quick chat from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by PCBWay. If you're into electronics and PCB projects, PCBWay is the place to go. They offer high-quality PCB prototyping and assembly services. But that's not all. PCBWay also provides precise CNC machining services. And for those innovative 3D printing projects, their 3D printing services have got you covered too. Fast turnaround time, excellent customer support, and all at an affordable price. Check them out at PCBWay.com and take your projects to the next level. PCBWay have been an amazing support to this channel. Have allowed me to grow this channel and to actually start earning a little bit from it. Everything else has come pretty much out of my own pocket, so this helped build this case. So thank you, PCBWay, and thank you for what you do. You guys are a great service. Right, so let's put the last piece on here. I'm going to try and do this so you can see what I'm doing. These are just the counterweights, the counter standoffs, so that it is straight. And I had them mounted on the inside here previously, but the problem with that was it created a very wonky balance point. So I've decided to move it a little bit further out, and hopefully that works better. So I might 3D print something a little bit better for this. Nope, that did not bite. Right, there we have it. And there is our completed case. This is the case that is now 100% complete for us to use. Now you can use this for anything. You can use it to store tools or carry tools or anything that you want to carry around. So yeah, it's a very useful, nice utilitarian case and works really well. So we'll put the rest in on our next episode of this, which I'll release a couple of days from now. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of this build, and thank you so much. God bless.